Here's a truth that will sting, but you need to hear it. Most men's good morning texts make them look weak, replaceable, and forgettable. They think they're being sweet. They think they're showing effort. What they're really doing is handing over their power before the day even begins. They're saying, please think about me, please remember me, please validate me. And that stench of neediness lingers longer than the words themselves. And if you're honest with yourself, you've probably done it too. Staring at your phone at 7 a.m., typing, deleting, typing again, wondering, what can I say? So, she replies fast, so she smiles, so she doesn't forget me. What you don't realize is that in that very moment, you are already negotiating your value downward. You're not texting like a grounded man. You're texting like someone hoping not to be abandoned. Have you ever wondered why your good morning gets a cold, flat reply while another man's 2 words echo in her mind all day long? It's not luck, it's not magic, it's psychology. The first message she reads in the morning doesn't just start her day. It frames how she thinks of you. And if your words carry no weight, if they lack strength, depth, or presence, then brother, she'll scroll right past you without a second thought. I want you to really picture this for a second. 2 phones light up on her nightstand. One screen shows, "Good morning, beautiful. I hope you slept well. I can't stop thinking about you." The other screen shows, "Morning. Stay sharp today." One feels like noise, needy, heavy, trying too hard. The other feels like a presence, calm, solid, unbothered. Guess which one she rereads later, but here's the brutal twist. It's not about how many words you send, it's about what those words represent. A boy sends paragraphs to beg for attention. A man sends a single line that shifts her entire emotional state. The difference isn't in the text, it's in the man behind it. And that's what this video is really about. Not about copy-paste lines you spam to every woman in your contacts, but about the frame behind your words, the energy, the discipline, the presence. Because when your internal world is weak, even the best line will sound hollow. But when your internal world is strong, even a simple morning feels different. So, in this video, I'm going to hand you 7 good morning messages that will flip the frame. 7 ways to plant yourself in her mind. So deeply, she'll find herself thinking about you hours later, replaying your words while she works, while she scrolls, while she lies awake at night. And more than that, I'll show you how Stoic philosophy transforms these from simple messages into echoes of strength, calm, and masculine presence. Before we go further, remember who's talking to you. This is Infinite Wisdom, and my name is Amelia. Here, we don't sugarcoat male weakness, we expose it. We don't beg for attention, we build presence. If you're looking for fluffy, just be yourself and send cute texts advice, this is not that channel. But if you're ready to understand how your words shape how a woman feels about you, then stay with me all the way to the end. Because remember this, it's not the good morning that matters, it's the man who sends it. Morning is more than a time of day, it's a doorway. It's the threshold where the mind is still soft, still shaping itself for what's ahead. And this is exactly why your first words carry more weight than you realize. They don't just greet her, they frame her day. If you come across weak, you set yourself up as background noise. But if you come across strong, calm, and unforgettable, you become the thought she can't shake. Think about the first 5 minutes after you wake up. You're not fully logical yet. You're emotional, impressionable, open. Whatever enters your mind in those moments sets the tone. Stress, calm, desire, pressure, excitement. Women are no different. The first voice she hears, the first line she reads, quietly programs how she feels about herself, her day, and you. Most men get this wrong because they confuse attention with presence. They think effort means sending long paragraphs, emojis, desperate affirmations. What they don't understand is that women don't fall for noise. They fall for signal. And a true signal doesn't beg to be heard. It commands attention by its very nature. Write this down in your mind. Attention is cheap. Presence is expensive. Any man with thumbs can send 30 heart emojis. Very few men can send one sentence that makes her stop, breathe, and feel something heavy in her chest. Think of it this way. When Marcus Aurelius woke at dawn, he didn't waste time with flowery words about the day ahead. He grounded himself. He reminded himself of duty, of clarity, of strength. Your good morning message must do the same. It must be more than a text. It must be a reflection of your frame, a glimpse of your discipline, a reminder that you live from strength, not weakness. Because here's the reality. A good morning text will never make her fall for you if your life is small, your words hollow, and your presence weak. But if you are grounded, disciplined, and magnetic, even 2 words from you can echo in her mind like thunder. So now let's break this down. I'm going to give you 7 good morning messages that will make her think about you all day long. Each one isn't just a line. It's a strategy, a mirror of your masculinity, a psychological anchor. And when you learn how to use them, you'll never send another weak text again. And as we go through each one, don't just think, oh, that's a cool line. Like, ask yourself, does this sound like the man I am or the man I need to become? Because the lines are useless if your life, your habits, and your mindset don't back them up. 1. The grounded reminder. Most men wake up and spill weakness into the first text they send. They're desperate to be noticed, so they overcompensate. Good morning, beautiful. I hope you slept well. I can't stop thinking about you. What does that actually communicate? That you have nothing better to do than orbit her. That your life begins and ends with her response. It's not love. It's neediness dressed up as romance. And women can smell that weakness before they even finish reading the first line. If you're sitting there thinking, but Amelia, isn't it nice to be sweet? Listen carefully. Sweetness without strength is not attractive. It feels like emotional begging. It feels like a man asking, did I earn your attention today? That's not romantic. It's repulsive at a subconscious level. But here's the truth. A real man doesn't need to flood her with words. His strength is in restraint. His message isn't long. It's grounded, solid, unshaken. A single line that sets the tone without begging for validation. Something like, morning, stay sharp today. That's not a plea for attention. That's presence. That's calm authority. Now imagine how that lands in her mind compared to a clingy paragraph. Morning, stay sharp today. You're not asking how she slept. You're not worrying if she missed you. You're assuming she's capable. You're nudging her into alertness, into focus. You're speaking like a man who's already in motion, not a boy waiting at the emotional door. Here's the psychology behind it. Human beings are wired to respond to those who carry certainty. When you send a short, grounded message, you're signaling stability. You're not grasping at her attention. You're establishing yourself as a man who already has direction, who already owns his day. Women crave this energy because it creates safety and polarity. You're not saying, Heights, please notice me. You're saying, I notice, but I am unmoved. And polarity is everything. Feminine energy wants to feel. Masculine energy wants to hold. When your morning message is grounded, you become the emotional ground she can stand on. Even if she never says it out loud, she feels the difference between a man who collapses into her and a man who stands firm beside her. Picture this. Tom, 48, used to send long, flowery paragraphs every morning to a woman he was seeing. She would reply politely at first, then shorter, then eventually she stopped replying altogether. Why? Because his messages were dripping with desperation. Later he shifted. He began sending simple, grounded lines like, morning, own the day. Suddenly her responses changed. She started chasing his tone, leaning into the strength she felt in his words. The difference wasn't the words themselves. It was the man he became behind them. Notice that carefully. He didn't just change the text, he changed his frame. He started waking up earlier, actually owning his mornings, working out, journaling, planning. So when he texted morning, own the day, it wasn't a motivational quote. It was a reflection of what he was already doing, and that authenticity is what women feel. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Weak morning texts are neither right nor true, they're just noise. But a grounded message reflects your truth. It shows that you speak from presence, not from panic. Here's the shift. Stop sending texts that scream insecurity. Start sending words that mirror strength. Keep it short. Keep it steady. Because when you send her a grounded reminder, you're not just wishing her a good morning. You're placing your presence in her mind before the world has even touched her. And one more thing, before you ever send the grounded line to her, send one to yourself. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, stay sharp today. Because if you live it, you won't have to pretend it in your messages. 2, the subtle challenge. Here's where most men go wrong. They think women want comfort first thing in the morning. They believe that showering her with compliments or endless affirmations will make her feel secure and desired. But the truth, Comfort without challenge kills attraction. A woman doesn't dream about the man who makes her feel safe like a teddy bear. She dreams about the man who stirs her blood, who pushes her higher, who makes her want to rise to meet him. Think about the people you respect most in your own life. They don't just make you feel comfortable, they challenge you. They expect better from you. They speak to the strongest version of you, not the laziest. It's the same for her. She might say she wants only comfort, but her attraction wakes up when a man sees her potential and calls it out. That's why the subtle challenge is so powerful. Instead of feeding her ego, you test it. You give her a message that doesn't just wish her well, but demands something from her. Something like, "Morning, don't let today beat you. You're tougher than that. That isn't sweet. That isn't needy. That's strength." It plants the idea that you see her as capable, that you expect more from her than the world does, and that expectation is intoxicating. Read that line again slowly. Don't let today beat you. You're tougher than that. You're not treating her like a fragile little princess who needs to be protected from life. You're treating her like a warrior. You are saying, "I see your strength. Don't betray it today." That kind of faith in her character hits deeper than any "Good morning, gorgeous ever will." Here's the psychology. Boy, human beings rise to the standards others set for them. When a man sets a challenge, he frames himself as a leader, someone whose approval must be earned. This flips the script. Instead of her being the prize you're chasing, you become the prize whose respect she's eager to win. Women, especially young women, are wired to chase the validation of the man who does not hand it out cheaply. This is especially true in places like the US, where life is fast, competitive, and full of pressure. Every day she's bombarded with fake positivity and shallow compliments on social media. But almost no one looks her in the eye or into her phone and says, "You're stronger than your excuses." When you do that, you stand out instantly. Picture this. David, 52, texts a younger woman he's seeing. He doesn't send, "Good morning. Hope you crush it today, heart." Instead, he writes, "Don't let today control you. Own it." She laughs when she reads it, but something stirs. Later that afternoon, she messages him back, "You'd be proud of me today." Do you see what happened? His challenge didn't just make her think of him. It made her want to prove herself to him. That's the power of the subtle challenge. Now imagine that happening over weeks and months. Every time she faces a tough meeting, an exam, a family conflict, your words echo, "You're tougher than that." You stop being just a romantic option. You become a mental standard, the man she measures herself against. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show what men are." When you remind her of this truth, when you frame the day as a test of her character, you step into the role of a man who awakens her potential rather than just soothing her emotions. And women never forget the man who makes them stronger. Here's the shift. Stop texting like a cheerleader. Start texting like a commander. Your words should call her upward, not cushion her downward, because the man who challenges her without being cruel, who expects more without being needy, becomes the man she thinks about all day long. And before we move to the next one, ask yourself honestly, are your texts making her softer or stronger? Because the man who makes her stronger will always live deeper in her heart. 3. The mystery line. Here's the mistake every average man makes. He spells everything out. He leaves no tension, no room for imagination. He writes paragraphs explaining how much he cares, how much he misses her, how much he hopes she thinks of him. And what happens? She doesn't think of him at all, because desire doesn't thrive on certainty. It thrives on mystery. And let me add this, human beings don't crave what they fully understand. We crave what we're forced to figure out. Our minds latch on to what isn't complete. That's why the mystery line is so magnetic, because it makes her brain work. It forces her to fill in the blanks. And when a woman starts filling in the blanks about you, she's investing emotionally without even realizing it. The mystery line is about planting a seed she can't stop watering in her own head. Instead of telling her exactly what you mean, you leave just enough space for her imagination to go to work. A simple line like, "This day will tell me something about you." Notice what that does. It's not long, but it forces her mind to engage. She wonders, what does he mean? What will today reveal? What is he seeing in me that I don't see myself? Suddenly, you're not just a man who texted her. You're a riddle she can't stop replaying. Now let me break down the science deeper, because this line is psychological warfare in the most elegant way. You're triggering the Zeigarnik effect, the cognitive bias that makes the brain cling to unfinished thoughts. When you give her a message that isn't complete, her mind keeps circling back to it, trying to close the loop. And the only way to close that loop is to think of you. This is exactly how mystery creates emotional gravity. Picture this. Mark, 50, sends a young woman a morning text. The way you handle today will say a lot. He doesn't explain. He doesn't elaborate. He just lets it sit. She reads it 3 times. All morning, she finds herself wondering what he meant, whether she'll live up to his standard, whether he'll be proud when he sees her again. And while she's busy analyzing, Mark is already on to his day, grounded, disciplined, unmoved. That contrast makes his presence feel 10 times heavier. And here's what women in the US especially feel. Life is chaotic, fast, overstimulated. Everyone is oversharing, overtalking, overexplaining. So when a man says less but means more, he cuts through all that noise like a blade. You become the one voice she leans toward instead of the one voice that chases her. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And this is where you harness that truth. You let her imagination do the heavy lifting. Instead of giving her closure with words, you give her mystery, and mystery is the oxygen of desire. Here's the shift. Stop sending texts that explain everything. Start sending lines that say less but mean more. Give her a question to hold on to. Give her a thought she can't shake. Because when her mind keeps circling back to you, even against her will, that's when you know you've mastered the art of presence. And a little secret, mystery is not silence. It's intentional silence. And intentional silence is power. 4, the silent image. Most men think the more they type, the more they'll be remembered. But the truth, every extra word is a chance to reveal weakness. And the strongest presence often needs no words at all. That's why the silent image is so powerful. Because sometimes a picture plants you in her mind more deeply than a novel ever could. Let me sharpen this even further. When you send an image, you're not just sending a picture. You are sending a moment of your life. A moment she wasn't invited into, but now gets to witness. That alone creates emotional intimacy. Here's the psychology. Human beings are visual creatures. Our brains process images 60,000 times faster than text. A single picture has the power to burn itself into memory, to evoke emotions long after words have faded. When you send her a morning image, not of you begging for attention, not of your face plastered with neediness, but of something grounded, raw, and timeless, you frame yourself as a man who sees the world differently. Something as simple as a sunrise, a black coffee, or the sweat on your training gear after a dawn workout. No caption needed. She fills in the meaning herself. Let me show you how powerful this is. When a woman sees your morning discipline without you bragging, she feels it. She imagines your breath, your pace, your mindset. She imagines you waking up before the world. You suddenly become a man with rhythm, with structure, with drive. And that image stays in her mind long after she puts her phone away. Picture this. Daniel, 47, doesn't text "Good morning, babe." He sends a photo of his morning run. The street empty, the horizon breaking with light. No words, just presence. The woman who receives it stares at it longer than she admits. She feels his discipline without him boasting. She imagines his pace, his breath, his focus, and most importantly, she imagines him. That's how you plant yourself in her thoughts without saying a thing. Now, imagine the insecure man. He sends a selfie from bed, messy hair, forced smile, captioned, "Good morning, cutie. Thinking of you?" Do you know what that communicates? That his world is small, centered around her, and that he has nothing better to offer than his need. She'll scroll, smile politely, and forget him before her coffee gets cold. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The silent image is your chance to show her the color of yours. Discipline, strength, presence. You don't explain it. You don't need to. You let the picture do what words can't. Here's the shift. Stop filling her phone with noise. Start giving her images that burn themselves into her mind. Because when she sees your morning not as a plea for attention, but as a glimpse of strength, She won't just think of you in that moment. She'll think of you again and again every time her day slows down. And remember, weak men send selfies. Strong men send evidence. 5. The frame setter. Here's where most men lose the game. They think the purpose of a good morning message is to center her. They revolve around her like a planet around the sun, pouring energy into her day while having none of their own. That's weakness. A real man doesn't orbit. He sets the orbit. He doesn't lose himself in her frame. He establishes his own and invites her to be part of it. That's what the frame setter does. And here's the secret psychological punch. When you show her your mission, she subconsciously wants to fit into it. Women don't fall for men who chase. They fall for men who move with or without them. Instead of asking about her plans, you state yours. Instead of begging for her attention, you reveal your mission. Something like, morning training at 7, meeting stacked after, win the day. Short, direct, complete, no apology, no fluff. It communicates, I'm a man on a mission and my life is moving with or without you. You are showing her your gravity, your world, your momentum. She feels pulled toward it. She imagines your schedule. She imagines your energy. And because she imagines it, she imagines you. Women in the United States especially respond to this energy because ambition is attractive here. Drive is attractive. A man with purpose, real purpose, is rare. And when she sees you moving like this, she instinctively wants to be part of that rhythm. Here's the psychology. Women are drawn to momentum, to direction, to men whose lives are already in motion. When you frame your day with purpose, you instantly separate yourself from the hordes of men whose lives revolve around validation. She doesn't just read your words, she feels your energy. She imagines you in movement, already building, already conquering, already shaping your world before she's even had her first sip of coffee. That image sticks in her mind. Picture this. Anthony, 50, used to send long morning check-ins like, "Hey, how's your day looking? What are you up to?" He thought he was showing care, but what he was really showing was passivity. One day, he switched. He started sending, "Morning, gym done, heading into work, eyes forward." Suddenly, her replies changed. She wasn't reporting her schedule anymore. She was chasing his energy, wanting to be part of his momentum. The difference wasn't the text, it was the frame. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each dawn, at day's first light, think of what it means to live as a man. This is what the frame setter does. It declares that you live from discipline, not from drift, that your day is already in your grasp and you're not waiting for permission to live it. Here's the shift. Stop centering her in your morning texts. Start centering yourself. Let her see your mission, your motion, your discipline. Because when she wakes up and sees you're already moving forward, she won't just think about you. She'll wonder how she can keep up. And here's a bonus truth. Only a man who leads himself can lead her emotions. 7. The playful tease. Here's a truth men forget. Attraction isn't built only on strength. It's built on contrast. You can be grounded, serious, disciplined, but if you have no playfulness, no spark, you become heavy. And heaviness alone doesn't magnetize. Women crave the man who can carry authority in one breath and drop a playful line in the next. That balance of control and humor is what makes him unforgettable. And here's the part men almost always miss. Playfulness is not weakness. Playfulness is control. Only a confident man can tease without fear. Only a man with emotional stability can flirt without collapsing into compliment vomiting. The playful tease is exactly that. Instead of showering her with forced compliments, you plant a light challenge wrapped in humor. Something like, "Try not to cause chaos before noon. I'm counting on you." It's not needy. It's not romantic fluff. It's playful authority. You're teasing her, but from a position of control, and that triggers something deeper than just a smile. Let me break this down further. When you tease her lightly, you introduce micro-tension, a moment where her emotions rise, then relax. This makes her brain release dopamine, the neurotransmitter of attraction and pleasure. That little spike, that's how emotional addiction begins. Here's the psychology. Teasing creates a microdose of tension and release. It flirts without begging. It draws her into your frame while making her feel seen in a way no generic "good morning, beautiful" ever could. Women associate this energy with confidence because only a man who's secure in himself can risk teasing instead of worshiping. Think of playful masculinity as emotional charisma. It's not clown energy, it's not immaturity. It's that subtle glint in your voice that says, I like you, but I'm not impressed by you. Picture this: Robert, 49, sends his good morning messages like clockwork. They're always polite, always flattering, always safe. And safe is why she never thinks about him past breakfast. Then he changes it up. 1. Morning, instead of a compliment, he texts, Don't start trouble before your second coffee. You know you can't handle it. Her response, laughter, curiosity, and most importantly, she texts him back hours later referencing his joke. Why? Because humor sticks. It echoes. It replays in her mind like a song. Women in the US especially respond to this because sarcasm, wit, and playful jabs are deeply woven into American flirting culture. If you can't tease, you can't spark. Seneca said, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." Teasing is proof of that power. You're showing that you're not unconquered by her beauty, her presence, her approval. You're relaxed, you can play, and that very playfulness rooted in self-control makes you magnetic. Here's the shift. Stop sending heavy, predictable texts. Mix in play. Use humor not as a clown, but as a king who knows he can afford to laugh. Because the man who can tease from strength will live in her mind all day. Not as the safe guy, not as the desperate guy, but as the man who made her feel alive before the day even began. And let me tell you something important. Women don't fall for nice guys. They fall for men who make them feel. Playfulness is a feeling, and feelings are unforgettable. 7. The timeless stoic note. Every man sends good morning texts, but only a rare kind of man sends words that outlive the morning. This is where you separate yourself, not with emojis, not with flattery, but with wisdom. When you send a message that anchors her mind in something deeper, something timeless, you stop being just another man in her inbox. You become the man who expands her world. This is the moment where your message shifts from flirtation to influence. The timeless stoic note is about sharing a line of wisdom, not as a lecture, not as a sermon, but as a spark. Something like Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What color are you painting today? Notice what that does. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't beg. It challenges her to think. It frames you as a man who values discipline, philosophy, and depth. And most importantly, it leaves her with a question she can't shake. This is powerful because most men only stimulate the parts of a woman that get bored easily. Her emotions, her ego, her attention. But you're now awakening her intellect, her self-reflection, her inner world. And when you awaken a woman's mind, her heart follows quietly behind. Here's the psychology. Women bond most deeply with men who make them feel something beyond surface-level excitement. When you make her think, when you introduce her to wisdom that reframes her day, you create an emotional and intellectual anchor. She doesn't just see you as attractive, she sees you as rare, the kind of man who sharpens her instead of distracting her. Picture this. Michael, 53, sends a young woman a morning message. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Remember that today. She reads it twice, then again later. And by the end of the day, when she feels herself spiraling in distress, his words return to her. But in her mind, they're not Seneca's words anymore. They're his. He becomes the voice she hears in her moments of weakness. That's not just attraction. That's influence. And in modern American dating culture, full of fast replies, shallow hookups, empty conversations, a man who gives her something meaningful becomes unforgettable. Epictetus wrote, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." The timeless stoic note does exactly that. You're not bragging about how deep you are. You're not lecturing. You're embodying wisdom by weaving it naturally into her day. And she feels the difference. Here's the shift. Stop wasting your mornings with texts that vanish by lunch. Start sending words that echo until night. Because when you frame yourself as the man who brings strength, clarity, and timeless thought into her life, you won't just make her think about you all day. You'll make her wonder why no other man has ever spoken to her that way. And trust me, when your words live in her mind longer than her own thoughts, you have already won. Now you know the truth. These 7 good morning messages aren't tricks. They aren't magic spells. They're reflections, mirrors of the man you are. If you're grounded, disciplined, magnetic, they'll echo in her mind all day long. But if you're needy, hollow, and weak, they'll vanish before she even finishes her coffee. So here's what I want you to do right now. Go to the comments and write this phrase, "My words carry weight," because that's the standard. Your words are not cheap. They're not noise. They are extensions of your presence, your frame, your masculinity. And when your words carry weight, even a 2-line message can plant itself in her thoughts like an anchor. And if you're ready to keep sharpening that presence, to keep stripping away weakness and building the kind of man women never forget, then subscribe. This isn't just a channel, it's a brotherhood. Every week we forge men into weapons. Every week we build strength that cannot be ignored. Remember this: a boy texts to be noticed, a man texts because he already is. Be that man. This is Infinite Wisdom, and I'm Amelia. I'll see you in the next one.